once again, in New Delhi, in our national capital, justice has been blocked now for 8 days. And I'm not even counting the weekend, considering that the courts are usually closed unless there's emergency. For 8 days now, no work has taken place in the courts of our national capital, with the lawyers boycotting work, going on a strike in district courts. What does this mean? An estimate of over 1 lakh case hearings have been hit in just the last 8 days. Over 1 lakh case hearings. All of them crucial for the people involved in those cases, linked to those cases, seeking justice. Many of them of national importance. These are the cases that the nation is waiting for justice in, but have been hit. And these include the Unnao rape case. This list also includes Augusta Westland corruption case. Remember the famous VVIP chopper scandal? Those hearings were also slated at this point of time and couldn't take place because lawyers were on strike and no action was taking place in the courtroom. So the Unnao rape case, the Augusta Westland case, the Ratalpuri bank fraud case, another high-profile case, was also hit. Then there was the Muzaffarpur shelter home sexual assault case. In fact, we are given to understand that in this case, the verdict was slated for this week. Now, we don't know if the verdict is even going to come tomorrow, considering that the whole legal lawyer fraternity is still on strike. On your screens are names of the case courts which are not functional because of the strike. And as protests continue, today, there is an interesting story. In the INX media case, a high-profile case, former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram was produced before the CBI judge in the Rose House Avenue court through the video conferencing facility. Can you imagine this? This is how a judge had to preside over custody proceedings via video conference. That's not all. In many cases, judges are actually going to the jail premises and deciding on judicial custody cases. Civil cases, criminal disputes, matrimonial cases, consumer disputes, all of those on hold. Litigants blocked from accessing justice. Is this right? Is this justified? Why doesn't somebody stand up and take a stand on this and tell the lawyers to get back to work? Their demand is simply this. The face-off that took place between the lawyers and the police on 2nd November, they want those policemen to be arrested. But fact of the matter is that there is a judicial committee that has been set up by the court itself. Their job is to find out what happened that day, who's responsible, who's to be blamed. And once those findings are in, court itself will be looking into it and action will be taken. So is it really necessary to go on this strike and continue with this strike? That's the big question I'm asking this evening. Now, I want to first go across to Justice Dhingra, who's joining us. Good evening, Justice S.N. Dhingra. Thank you so much for joining us. And I simply want to focus on this fact that it's been so many days now. Is it justified, sir, this kind of a response from the lawyers to be on strike for so long?
It is totally unjustified. It is high-handedness of the advocates. You see, this is the history of Delhi Bar, that they do not listen to the sane voices. They continue their strike for months together. See, in case of Kiran Bedi, it was many months. In case of several other strikes, including strike in my court, it continued for months together, and they do not budge from their stand because they get full support of judiciary in this. Judiciary has no guts to take action against advocates. They know this, and that is why they exploit the situation. The courts simultaneously go on strike when advocates go on strike. I do not know how can courts go on strike. They do not dispose of cases. They do not mark absence of advocates. They do not try to dispose of cases which can be disposed of without presence of advocates. Courts are supposed to know law themselves. Advocates only help their clients. They put forward the case of their clients. The courts can always read and decide. still the courts do not decide. And when some courts want to decide, you have seen the advocates have put locks on the courtrooms and they drag litigants physically out of the doors, out of this. They physically quarrel with judges, they physically quarrel with public prosecutors, and they also show violence to their own colleagues who dare to go to the courts to attend the cases. That is why, out of fear, no advocate is prepared to go to courts. Nobody wants his clothes to be torn, and this is not happening first time. This happens every time in all courts in India, wherever the advocates go on strike.
Justice Dhingra, in fact, I was going to ask you, why doesn't the court itself intervene and ask the lawyers to really cancel the strike? We're looking at a situation where judges are going to jail to hold proceedings on custody hearings or doing it via video conference. And how do we change this? How do we ensure that no one community, no matter who they are, no one community has such, large yielding powers?
You see, judiciary doesn't have courage. When the judiciary will have courage to take the things in its own hand, when judges become master of the courts, things will be solved. Now, judges are not master of courts. It is the advocates who run the courts. Judges are merely spectators and umpires. They helplessly look upon advocates to present the case of the clients. They are supposed to come to the court prepared with the brief after reading all the files. But unfortunately, the situation is that once it is told to the court, the advocate is busy in another adjournment. The advocate has gone out, they just give adjournment. While CPC has specifically stated that busyness of advocate is no ground for giving adjournment. There are judgments where say the busyness of the advocate in other court is not a ground for adjournment. But our courts, right up to the Supreme Court, adjourn cases when advocates are not available because they are busy. Now, this is one aspect. Second aspect, the courts have normally observed heaven was not going to fall if you had adjourned the case. I do not know when heaven will fall. I consider heaven has already fallen, that in this country the cases even where people are in jail, trial takes years together, and after 10 years of the trial you tell somebody that you have been in jail for 10 years without a fault of yours.
No, I know what you're describing, Justice Dhingra, is very depressing. What you're saying, this is the way it functions, and not just today. In the past, also, I've heard you tell your own experiences, and it's kind of depressing. Though I agree, it's probably the unfortunate reality on ground, Justice Dhingra.
Take it from me that even in this episode, nothing is going to happen against any advocate who was actually involved in violence and evidence was found against him. Despite all the proof, no court will punish them, and the courts are still making effort. You patch up, you solve the problem. You see, if police has done something wrong, you please punish the police. And if advocates have done wrong, please punish the advocates. Please create an example. But unfortunately, this is not being done, and this will not be done.
Justice Dhingra, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views on this. And we continue this conversation with our esteemed panelists this evening. Let's say good evening to Yashovardhan Azad, retired IPS officer and former Central Information Commissioner, Mr. A.L. Banerjee, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, K.K. Manan, senior advocate of the Delhi High Court, and Jatin Singh, vice president of the Delhi High Court Bar Association. And let me begin actually with Mr. Jatin Singh. Mr. Singh, is there any plan on when the strike will be called off?
Tanvi, first of all, let me reply Justice Dhingra. Justice Dhingra has announced and pronounced us guilty before even the inquiry commission has taken place. And Justice Dhingra is always, as he has always stood against the lawyers, now today is speaking against the High Court, speaking against the Supreme Court, and is saying that everybody is not working except him. He says that the judges in the district court, they are not working. He says that the Supreme Court adjourned the cases on asking. So I take very serious objection to Justice Dhingra's comments. And secondly, he is always, he holds a biased opinion against the lawyers, whether they are on strike or no strike. Because he just said that he has faced a strike during his tenure when he was a district judge. And I am sorry to say that he named me falsely in the contempt case, which was discharged later on. He named me falsely. So I do not give much credence to Justice Dhingra's comments, and he's not, I will say that he's not the voice to be heard on this particular episode. Now, secondly, you have said that important cases are being adjourned and the video conferencing is taking place. So let me tell you, it is today's the routine way of doing video conferencing in matters where the under trials are there in the judicial custody. So it is not a new thing that a video conferencing has taken place. Video conferencing is done every day. Now, secondly, now your topic justice blocked. We are not blocking the justice. You please see, you have just said the Naib courts are not coming to the court. So it is their duty when the clients are going, suppose there is a bail order already passed and the client wants to present a bail bond. Now the Naib courts are, suppose the court says that you file a verification report. So the Naib courts are going to take that order to the police station. Naib courts are not coming. They are blocking justice. They, right from the day one, they are blocking justice, holding demonstrations. And what is our simple demand is that you please arrest those two persons. You have said that the inquiry commission is sitting. In the last interview, when me and Mr. Manan was there on your channel, we have said that please do not confuse yourself with the inquiry commission findings and with the investigation. The investigation and the arrest is a part of the investigation.
Okay, Mr. Jatin Singh, if I may.
Do not confuse. And
Mr. Jatin Singh, if I may. If I may, firstly.
No, please hear to me.
You made so many points.
Please, let me complete.
Okay.
Let me complete. You have given Mr. Dhingra the 5 minutes opening. So please let me complete.
I just also want to point out that Justice Dhingra is not with us on the panel anymore. So he will not be able to respond to what you are saying. That conversation with him was earlier.
Please,
Jatin Singh, you can go ahead and make your point, but from what you are saying, I'm a little confused. You say video conferencing is routine, which is fair enough and justified. But are you right now giving me a justification to say that lawyers don't need to come to courts? We don't know. Do we not need actual physical court proceedings in the court, on the court premises, that we can just have lawyers missing from there and the cops missing from there? The Naib courts are not turning up on the court premises. The security in some cases is not there. Are you saying this is how courtrooms should function in our country, Mr. Singh?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. What I'm saying is that the order of the division bench, I think
we can hear you. Go ahead,
connection.
please.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to say, I will answer this also. I will answer this also.
Yes,
I
go
think
ahead, we can hear you.
the connection is breaking. Yeah. So, what I'm saying is, in the order of 3rd November, the order is absolutely specific. The order was not even changed when they asked for a clarification. So there are two things: that no coercive steps against the lawyers,
Okay.
and there is no order for the those two police persons or anybody involved that they will not be arrested. So once there is no order from the court,
Okay.
so why the police is hiding behind this commission, inquiry commission? They should not hide behind the inquiry commission.
You're
So
all,
first, if they arrest,
okay,
things will
I get
be
your point.
okay.
Now you're
Now
all,
let me
obviously better at understanding law and what judges
let me
mean than
answer
I am,
let
and
me
I will
answer you.
concede that, Mr. Jatan Singh, but I will still say this from where I stand. When a court decides that there will be a judicial inquiry or a judicial committee which will look into what has happened, then I think both sides should show similar respect to that investigation, similar respect to that committee investigation, and wait for the findings, if at all. And may I just point this out, the police
No,
department
I
has
think
taken action
Tanvi,
against its own cops.
missing a point.
Cops have been suspended, cops have been transferred. What have the lawyers done? Gone on a strike. Why are the two sides not showing similar respect to the law? And unfortunately, there seems to be a technical glitch with Jatan Singh's line. We're going to fix that. But Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, good evening to you. Would you like to respond? And I want to make this very clear to all of our panelists. Tonight, we are not discussing on the merits of what happened on November 2nd and what happened on November 3rd in the court. Tonight, I want to ask, is it justified for courtrooms to be shut and justice to be blocked?
Actually,
Azad,
Tanvi,
yes.
I'm at a loss of words,
Yes.
and I don't need even 5 minutes. Yeah. I'm at a loss of words. I don't even need more than 3 minutes to explain my stand. You have already described the entire background, the statistics of people and the courts where the litigants are suffering. The important cases are being held up. Secondly, it's a little uncharitable to make remarks about Justice Dhingra when he's not present, and he's just made with rare candor his observations on the stark reality which is facing the courts today. The third point which I want to make is, I don't want to go back into the incident, but I just want to remind Mr. Singh and Mr. Manan that how did the incident started because the lawyers refused a lawful order of the police. After that, the entire fracas which has taken place, that is under judicial scrutiny. That's exactly the whole point, how it happened and who is to blame. And I'm not even for mediation at all. I'm in fact in favor of law taking its own course. Those guilty on the police side should be punished, and those on the lawyer's side should also be finished. Let me also add this point that right now, the lawyers, I can only appeal to their good senses, is that the police has been taken act proceeded against. The two top officers who they don't think they are to be blamed have been transferred. Two have already been suspended. Now, on the other side, there has been no action against lawyers. They interpret their law by saying that no coercive action should be taken against lawyers, which means that the normal investigation, which also finds anybody guilty, should not cover the lawyers. But on the other side, the police, you already prejudge and establish that two guys are guilty and they should be arrested. I think this is a little unfair. I can only hope that whether it is the intervention of the LG or the intervention of the higher authorities that they get back to earth, because the most important point is that contract between the lawyer and a justice seeker is also sacrosanct, and that should be obeyed. And I don't know how it has to be enforced, but something should be there to enforce that contract. That's all.
Yes, in fact, I was also seeking an answer to that question even from Justice Dhingra, but even he didn't really have a specific answer on how do you resolve this, because this is, he obviously has absolutely no faith in justice being delivered in this case. But Mr. K.K. Manan, I will come to you. And again, I will highlight this. Mr. Jatan Singh is back with us, that I don't want to go into merits of what happened on November 2nd. Who started it, who's to be blamed, and all of that. That is for the Judicial Committee and for the courts to decide and for the investigators to find out. I want to ask, what wrong have the people of this country done, where lakhs of people turn towards the national capital, towards our courts, and 7 of those court premises are completely under a lockdown right now? Why are the people being punished?
I totally agree with you, but unfortunately, or you can say one thing on record, that we also do not want that the litigants should suffer. But the problem, you see, created by the police itself on 5th November, when they sat on a dharna, and they also, otherwise things would have been resolved by now, long back. After second incident taken place, inquiry commission was formed. Thereafter, there was no need. A disciplined force will sit on a dharna in front of the police headquarters and asking demand such and such, such and such. Thereafter, Kiran Bedi ji also put an oil in the fire that the police officials should not budge and should not go back of their stance. Now, another thing is that the Bar Council of India, Delhi Bar Council, took the time with the intervention of Bhupender Yadav ji, Member Parliament, and the Honorable Lieutenant Governor given the time. Both the parties were called there, but even he himself suggested something, but the police did not watch. He presumed for a moment a case has been registered against a layman for an offence under section 307, and the FIR is named. If the named FIR, what to talk, within 2 hours the persons can be arrested. If the police cannot arrest the person who are named in the FIR, and not only this, inquiry commission was formed by the Honorable Delhi High Court only after the report given by the sitting High Court judges, sitting district and session judge. You see that I can say on record, it is very unfortunate. Though I will not comment upon whatever, because Mr. Dhingra is not there, I have every respect for him. I will not comment upon his whatever the views expressed by him. Unfortunate only that he is involving the judiciary. We have full respect, high respect, so far as the judiciary is concerned in this country. Our judiciary is the supreme, and our judges are very honest and very high moral character, and they have guts to deal with every situation. But anyway, I will not comment upon that. But only thing is that kindly make it on a record that we do not want that the litigants should suffer, but at the same time police also should come forward. And if investigating agency, that is now SITV is being formed by the crime branch, and we don't think that they should have taken such time, long time. Otherwise, they should transfer the matter to the CBI within 24 hours, whether the police or the lawyers, whoever the guilty, they will be punished.
No, so I want to understand this.
Okay. I don't mind to use the words whether the police or the lawyers, whatever it is. But I want that grain should be separated from the shafts. But it is not simply, I know today perception is that lawyers are habitual to go on strike and kindly see.
No, Supreme but I don't Court, understand this, Mr. Manan. If you are not happy with the action that the police is taking,
taken place,
if you're not happy, if the lawyers are not happy with the action that the police is taking or the inaction of the police, why don't you go back to the court? Who better than the lawyers to use the law to demand their rights and to go back to the court and the judges to say, no, you ask them, please, this is our plea, please direct the police to right now set up a team which involves these investigators, whether it's the SIT, who should be in the SIT, should it be the CBI, should it be whatever it is. Instead of being on a strike, Mr. Manan, why don't the lawyers legally fight this in the courtroom?
Delhi Bar Council has passed the resolution to this effect. Delhi Bar Council has already passed the resolution to this effect. I was present there being a member Bar Council, and I told that you approach the Honorable Delhi High Court to include the incident, the dharna of Delhi Police of 5th, and again you please approach the Honorable Court to intervene and direct the investigating agencies or transfer this matter from Delhi Police to CBI, and at least one of the lawyer has already approached the learned CMM or the CMM in Tisajari. He has filed the petition, private complaint against the police officials. I think notice has already been issued against that, and for that purpose legally we are also taking all in course. No problem for that, so but I will say sorry again, time and again, that the lawyers do not want that the litigants should suffer anymore. We want the solution as early as possible. Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, he is honorable, I mean representative of the central government in Delhi. He intervened. He said that I can call both the parties, please resolve this matter.
But I don't understand
Delhi
that.
Police's stand was so rigid. Rigid.
What is the discussion that's going to happen between the two sides? It's a matter of law, sir. It is a matter of law. इसमें बैठ के हम negotiation क्या करेंगे?
Please.
कि तुम्हारा एक आदमी अरेस्ट हो जाए और मेरा एक आदमी अरेस्ट हो जाए, इसमें negotiation की क्या बात है? ये violence हुआ है, law and order की चीज़ है. It's a matter of law and order. It's a matter of violence.
We don't say this. We
so
don't
what are the talks
this.
about?
Kindly let me add one more sentence. That Bar Council of India had already told, and even the coordination committee wanted to suspend strike for 10 days before the LG. Let them do something. Let them show that they are doing fair investigation. But the police did not budge from their stand. Because of that reason, strike is going on.
Okay, so Mr. A.L. Banerjee, let me bring this question to you. What do you find merit in these so-called mediation talks that were being attempted? Twice we are given to understand, over the weekend, the two sides were to meet and try and resolve the issue. What is there to resolve? It's a proper legal investigation. It's a legal case. Somebody got shot. Government property was set ablaze. There was vandalism. There was violence on court premises.
Absolutely, Tanvi. But if there is an attempt to mediate, brings things to better level, bring about functioning of the courts all over again, it should be welcomed, whatever it may be. See, even the Supreme Court tried to mediate in the Ayodhya matter. They sent in mediators. It was almost through, then it fell out. That is it. Same out here. There are two parties which are not at loggerheads with each other. Now, the fact is that the basic demand of the advocates in this particular issue is that so-and-so ought to be arrested. Are they preempting the investigation? Because an arrest should be made only to fulfill the object of the investigation, not before or not after. Continuously, this pressure has been being built up on the investigative authorities. Now, I agree that the policemen coming out and demonstrating is not a very correct thing to have happened. And I'm sure the Delhi police and the authorities are contemplating, taking and also proceeding with the action that there should be about such a demonstration. That is besides the point. However, just believing in the fact that, just saying that so-and-so, if so-and-so is arrested,
only then justice will seem to prevail, is an incorrect version, because of the fact that there is a judicial commission which is supposed to present its report on this particular issue. Now, the two wrongs don't make a right. There is this cop who, to my mind, because of trying to save his life, property, or whatever, may have fired, could have fired. Just a second. I didn't interrupt you. May I please go ahead? Now, if the commission is to decide what happened.
Go ahead.
Once the commission decides what happened, who did it, then the investigation can proceed, or investigation can take that into account.
Okay.
I'll also put another fact in front of you. You had in an earlier episode, which I attended, which I was a part of the panel, played out a large number of video clips.
Yes.
Or in those video clips, you showed somebody using a belt to hammer somebody, the lady cop being harassed, abused and thrust away, the gypsy being burnt, truck being vandalized. Now, those people who were doing it were definitely advocates as far as the uniform was concerned. You could make out most of them were in courts, whoever would wear courts at this time, and in court premises or around the court premises.
Yes.
Now, if, say, for example, action is being taken against those policemen who went on a rampage or whatever has happened, then has the Bar Council ever before or in this particular matter, have they identified who did this? Who were those people who were trying to burn the truck, destroy the truck, burn the gypsy, abuse the woman cop, etc.? And are they going to take any action against them? So these are again two wrongs.
Right.
We have any attempt to bring this out has to be correct. Now, let us take the case of litigants. You said the case of litigants is not being taken.
Yes.
Up. I quite agree. In the Tandoor, if you remember the Tandoor murder case of Delhi,
yes,
it took 9 years and 900 sittings of the court to get justice.
Yes,
9 years and 900 sittings.
In fact, Mr. Banerjee, let me just point out for that very reason.
Because of
thousands of cases are pending, waiting for a date. Years go by, and in a specific case, they don't get a date in our country because our courts are so overburdened. Imagine in such a scenario when the courts completely stop functioning. There are 7 Delhi district courts which are shut. 7. In all, we calculated, taking each of these 7 courts and we added their courtrooms, it comes to about 465 courtrooms. Just roughly, if we say that in each courtroom, there are about 20 to 30 hearings that take place on a daily basis. And this is based on our own experiences of covering court cases. And the courts have been now shut for 8 days. There are 1,11,000 hearings that have not taken place. This is just a rough estimate. It could go up or down. Either which ways, I'm not counting in the weekends. Imagine that. Imagine this delay in justice. And I know Mr. Jatin Singh pointed out saying we are not blocking justice. I am not saying the lawyers are blocking justice, Mr. Jatin Singh. I'm saying simply as the way the situation has turned out, justice is being blocked. Now the Naib court, the police personnel who are supposed to be appointed as the bridge between the two sides and to be present in these criminal case hearings are also not turning up. For whatever reason, either they are scared because they'll get beaten up, or this is their way of showing their own, revolt. They're not turning up. At the end of the day, justice is not being delivered. And that is my problem. Mr. Azad, you had to make a point. Go ahead, please.
I want to make 3 quick points. The first point which our esteemed lawyers talked about was the dharna by the policemen. Everyone agrees that dharna should not be held. But there's an important difference. The difference is that dharna was an angst expressed to the senior officers. It did not create any kind of a public rife, or it did not create any problems except for some traffic problems to the public. And it was finished in the evening. Requisite action will be taken. Number 2 point is, why doesn't the Bar Council at least suspend those lawyers who they know exactly are appearing on the TV and have created all the mayhem? And number three point, which is important, Tanvi, as you were asking them, that why don't you take the recourse of the court to get your demands fulfilled about the arrest before the investigation? Mr. Manan, my friend, said that they have taken all the action. The Bar Council has already passed a resolution. Some people have also gone to the court. अगर सारी कार्रवाई इन्होंने कर ही ली है तो अब हड़ताल का औचित्य क्या है? इसलिए ये आवश्यक है कि कम से कम इन्हें ड्यूटी पे तो वापस आ जाना चाहिए। और इसलिए मेरा निवेदन होगा कि अब ऐसी जब कोई कार्रवाई बची नहीं है तो दे शुड कम बैक. Action should start and at least help out those justice seekers with whom they have a sacrosanct contract.
Okay, I'm running out of time, but I will quickly ask Mr. Jatin Singh to respond to this before we wrap this conversation.
Yeah, Tanvi, I just want to respond to one thing only, that they are saying that arrest before investigation is not there. But this is, they forget that this case of 307 and the ACM Imtiaz Hajari, he has said in his order that I may not direct the police to arrest a particular person because it is out of my domain. But I can definitely see your case file and find out whether your reasons for not arrest are justified or not. So therefore they must know that in this case, arrest is a mandatory thing, not for the strike, but for the justice to be delivered. And they are blocking justice simply because they know that if they arrest, we will not be on strike. So they want to just defame us by not arresting us and showing us that we are on strike just because of this.
Well, I'm going to reiterate this. This is not about who was right or who was wrong and what happened in November 2nd. Mr. Banerjee, my apologies, but I've already gone over time on this conversation, so I will not be able to come to you. My only request from the lawyers tonight will be to please, if you think you can be the bigger party here, then please think that and end this strike. I'm given to understand they're planning a march on November 20th to the Parliament. If they want to protest, hold a march, by all means, please go ahead and do that. It's your right. An SIT has begun the investigation in this case. The report will be submitted to the High Court, which will then be given to a judge because this is a judicial committee investigation which is going on. If the lawyers are not happy with this whole process, they can go back to the court and ask the court for any other method of investigation that they deem fair. But please, call up the strike. Let the case proceedings, thousands of cases that are lined up this week and next week, let those proceedings continue. We are only asking that justice should not be delayed further in a country where already our courts are overburdened and people have to run around and wait for years together, running from one courtroom to the other to seek justice. Let's not add to that. Whether it's the police or the lawyers, I'm not taking any sides, but I do expect and hope and request the legal community, the lawyers, to call off this strike and get back to work so that the Aam Aadmi, the common man, doesn't get hit. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.